Alright, I'm going to attempt a video that's kind of a how-to I go about making masks. I start right here. I try to maximize my fabric. I fan fold it so that I can cut once and have enough for 2 masks. I will then use my handy dandy piece of chalk and I will trace my pattern on here several times. Ooh, the magic of the pause button on video. Look, I have cutouts for 2, 4, 6, 8 masks. My fabric down at the end was cut differently yesterday, so it's gonna not turn out quite the same as I usually do it. But I like to put 2 together like this, because that way I can just make one cut and that makes it a whole lot easier. You see I use chalk. I don't wash it out before I send it home with somebody. It's going to wash out. It's not going to be greatly seen. It's not something that really matters. So now I'll get my handy dandy Ginger scissors that have started to make awful noises. Can you hear them squeak? And they're kind of getting dull. I'll see if I can cut into this and show you. It's kind of hard. Can you hear the tooth on that? It's pretty thick. And so I'll go through and cut all these out right quick. Once they've all been cut, I separate them into pairs. I put the fronts together. When I have 4 like this, it's real easy just to separate it and separate it. And then I will step over to Her Royal Highness Queen Ellen and sew them, make the initial seam. It's, I think they kind of look like a boot, maybe a little like Italy. I don't know. My geography is not my strong point. But I think it looks kind of like a boot. Can you see that? A boot, stocking, heel, toe. So I'm going to put it in my sewing machine like this and begin with the heel and sew down to the toe. All right, I've got these all stacked to the left of my machine. Here she is. Isn't she a beaut? Queen Ellen. She's an Eversewn Sparrow QE. The QE stands for Quilting Edition. My Bernina that had been passed down to me from my mom finally died at the end of last summer. And I was devastated. I actually cried when the guy left me the voicemail telling me that he could no longer fix it. And something is not... There we go. Telling me he could no longer fix it. Well, I started looking at machines. I don't know if you know this, but sewing machines are very expensive. To get one that is even an nth of the quality of my former beloved Bernina. So I found this particular brand over at Rogers Sewing Center. I was really excited because the folks that make these are from the family who originally made the Berninas. So the technology that is contained in it is very similar to the technology in a Bernina. So that made me really happy, and the price was just a fraction of the price of other machines. I have been thrilled with this sewing machine. She has been great. She's a workhorse. I usually don't sew one-handed. This is kind of a new experience, but I'm the only one in here right now, so you're getting just me. My thread clipper, isn't that amazing? It'll clip my threads for me. And then I just pull it right out, and then I just reach over here to my stack and go to the next one. So I'm going to pause you, and I'm going to get these zipped back and come back with them all ready to iron. Okay, I'm going to shift gears to cutting again. This time I'm using green. This is going to be my inside pieces. Let's see, I've got 2, 4, 6, 8 layers here. So that's 4, 8, 12 insides of masks. that I'm going to cut. If you see, there is extra over here. I did this so it's on the fold. So when that opens up, that's going to be at least 1.5 inches, which is going to be wide enough for me to make bias tape in a little bit. So I'm just going to make one cut into this fabric here so you can hear this is 8 layers compared to the 4 on the other. See how much easier that cuts? It's a whole lot easier to cut than the other. So I'm going to get these cut up right quick. All right, these I don't really worry about inside and outside because it's exactly the same on this fabric. So I'll come over here and right by the toe, I'll just cut it off even. And then I'll cut it down here across the bottom. And then I will have a strip that's about 24 inches long, more or less. And that's enough that I can cut it right down the middle and make at least one set of bias tape ties. All right, so here I am back at Queen Ellen. I am working on the green heel to toe pieces. I've got all my blue ones lined out. So I'm gonna just zip through these right quick.
I did not answer because I don't.
All right, so 2 of my 3 kids are now awake. So maybe I could get one of them to hold my phone for a second for me. So I can show you the next thing we do here. I take the little pieces that we've sewed together.
You licked your fingers, that spreads corona.
Okay, I'm sorry. Wash your masks. And I flip them inside out. I do this to all of them. And next, I will go upstairs and press them. All right, here I am upstairs in my room formerly known as the place where I like to sew. I gave it to Ted so that he can do his work up here. Say hey, handsome.
Hey, handsome.
And so here we are. This was my cutting area, and that was my sewing area. So I had 2 separate. This is ironing board. Whoop, whoop. This is going to be exciting here. I use my handy dandy Tupperware orange peeler, and it makes it easier. I'm going to hand the phone to Ted so he can hold it right here so you can see what I do to iron each one. I take my handy dandy orange peeler. I put it in here and I just kind of zip along to make it flat. And I put my iron on there. The dogs want to say hello too. Do you hear that? It's like Grand Central Station here. Give it a pop of steam. And then I move to the next one. So this is what I will go through and do. If I have 12 masks, then I've got 24 pieces that get shot with steam here like this. Thank you, handsome. You did great. Next step, I'm going to cut this little strip into 1.5 inch strip so I can make bias tape out of it. All right, handsome is busy working, so I'm not going to disturb him again. Ooh, that sounds like Hell's Bells in the background playing. My green was enough that I was able to make 2 21 inch, 1.5 inch wide strips. And so that's going to be enough ties for 1 mask. So next I feed it through this little Duma Flotchy here. I don't know how well you can see, but you have to feed it through there. It goes in there, it works its magic, and it comes out on the other side, 1.5 inch strip that has been folded in on either side. So as I pull, it folds. It's really kind of cool. And then I have to run the iron along and iron it and hit it with steam. And I do that with 2 hands. It goes pretty quick. It's not too bad at all. And sharing a room with the bunny down here. Do you see Christopher? He's eating another piece of paper that he found. He is very ingenious. So I'm going to get this ironed and then we'll head back downstairs. All right, I'm cheating here due to the pause button. Let's see, I have all my pieces of fabric down here, and then I take my handy dandy scissors and see how it's sticking uneven a little bit at the toe here. I snip that off so that they piece together better. So I go through and snip all of those, and then I pin it together with the right sides together of the fabric. I try to match the seams as best I can. I put 2 pins at the top and 2 pins at the bottom, and then I just stack them, and I will do the whole stack pinned that way. The bias tape that I showed you that I was making upstairs, I bring it down and I fold it in half by hand, and I run it through my sewing machine. So that way, when it goes through your washer at home, it stays together instead of coming apart and coming frayed. And then sometimes you experience the technical difficulty. Let's see if I can get this in focus here. Because I'm sewing something really small, it got sucked down underneath the feed dogs, which these right here, that look like the little teeth, those are called feed dogs, and they go up and down on a sewing machine, and they're what makes your fabric move. So I'm gonna have to take apart my sewing machine right now. All right, hopefully you can see the difference here in the point on these 2 needles. The one on the right is far sharper than the one on the left. I just put in a brand new needle yesterday, so I'm putting in another new needle today. This area down in here, that's where my piece of fabric was stuck, so I had to cut the threads and cut it out. It kind of mucked it up a little bit, but I will start from the other end and we'll meet that, and it'll all be just fine. Okay, next on my list is probably my least favorite part of mask making. I take a piece of 6-inch pipe cleaner and I fold in, let's see which is the end. I fold the 2 little end pieces down so that they're not sharp and sticky outy, and then I twist it together, and then I fold it, I try to fold it as close to in half as I can. Then I put it on the nose up here. I change Queen Ellen to zigzag. I make the zigzag as wide as it will go, and I make it, well, I try to make it longer. I guess it's as long as it'll go today. So I raise my foot up. I set my pipe cleaner on. I slide it underneath. I put my foot down. See how that works? And then I sew over the pipe cleaner. And sometimes, see, it doesn't like to move because it's thick. And I kind of have to give it a little pull to get it moving. And just follow the curve like that. When I get to that point, I kind of pull it and turn it and go over it all the way to the end. Then I hit my back button, go back over the last couple of stitches a couple of times, hit my thread cutter, and then I have the nose piece sewn in. Like I said, it's not perfectly in the middle, but it's pretty close. That way you can adjust the mask down to fit your nose. Now I have to turn it. Once I've turned it, it starts to look like an actual mask. You can see the part that comes out over your nose, and right here is the pipe cleaner that's going to cinch around your nose. It didn't call for top stitching in the pattern that I've been following, but I've been top stitching them for 2 reasons. One, I think it just looks nice to have an end product that is top stitched. And 2, I think it makes it stronger because I'm catching the seam in there. I'm catching the seam allowance, and that way there's less chance of your mask ripping out. And who knows how long we're going to be wearing masks, and I think that will help us so that in the long run we can maybe wash them more times. All right, 1 mask fully top stitched, but it's not finished yet. Lots of strings. I have to turn it over and fold in the sides, and that way it will hold the bias tape. if I wanted to, or if I had somebody who really needed extra layers, I could top stitch this before I pieced them together, and I could put the bias tape holder further over, and that way you could slip in extra filter medium if you needed extra filtration. I found this pattern of mask is pretty durable. There is something that I have heard of called the candle test. With the candle test, you are supposed to not be able to blow out a candle, match, lighter through the mask while you're wearing it. And I found that with this style, especially with this twill fabric, you cannot blow out a candle with it on. So I just backstitch a little bit as I'm putting this on to make it a little more stable. And I will then do that to the other side. I'm not going to make y'all watch it, but you get the gist. That's what it looks like when it is complete and ready to go. Sadly, I had major technical difficulties with this green. I don't know if it's because it's a little bit thinner fabric than I've made bias tape with, but this green bias tape is going in the trash, and I will use another color. You can see I've made several different. This was a yellow pattern. This is actually pre-made yellow 1/4-inch bias tape. And so I will have to get bias tape cut out of something else and made, but I just kind of wanted y'all to have an idea of what goes into making these masks from a very unprofessional person who is doing this with lots of love and prayers. I sit here and I don't have music on while I'm doing it. I don't have the television on. You can see the TV over there. It's just quiet. And me and Queen Ellen with the occasional kid letting the dogs in. Or a husband coming in on a call, something like that. I've got to run now because Handsome has an appointment at the chiropractor. And just so you know, I think this video is going to wind up somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 minutes. And again, that's each mask. And that's not actually going through the fullness of every step. I am about 2 hours later, maybe a little more than 2 hours later, and my coffee cup is still half full and it is cold. So if you need a mask, let me know. The only thing I ask is that you be patient if it takes me a little bit to get to you on it, and also that if you can, that you will donate to Sarah's school kids for the southeast side of Springdale for keeping their little pantries full so their tummies can eat during this COVID-19 pandemic time. Y'all have a super day, and I will talk to you later. I love you. Bye.